Okay, friends, I know how a lot of you like my phone calls to members of Congress and folks in general whenever there's a hot topic out there. I just made some phone calls to Nancy Pelosi's office, David Cicilline's office, and Lucy Mcbath's office. Let me tell you why Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, of course, is the Speaker of the House, and she is going to be the one responsible for pushing this bill from committee into the House for a full vote. And I wanted her to know, even though it doesn't matter, and I get that it doesn't matter, but voices need to be heard. I want her to know how ignorant people are. You know, these people don't really like to look stupid because they have massive egos. So when you call them on it, it makes them look stupid. And it's embarrassing to them because they're so used to being on that pedestal of being the elite and no one questioning what they're doing. When you question them, it chips away at that. And it does bother them. They act like it doesn't, and they act like it doesn't matter, but it does bother them. So I asked her a series of questions. I also called Cicilline's office and Mcbath's office and asked them somewhat of the same questions. I think that it's important that these people know that we're watching. They have gotten away with this for so long, being in that elite class, doing whatever they want, and we just have to deal with it. We just have to suck it up and act like it's not a big deal. It's important to me to show you guys these phone calls that you can be firm and respectful. And I want to make a quick correction before I play these phone calls. I can be disrespectful when I need to, when I'm being disrespected. I try to be as respectful as I can when the moment calls for it. And especially if I don't know where a particular congressperson or senator stands, I'm super respectful in that, although firm. But when somebody, I know where their position is and they're not going to change it based on what I say, I feel like they've disrespected me because they're coming after my Second Amendment rights, and I personally don't have any respect for them in return. So I can be a little bit more edgy on stuff like that. So that's why those of you that see me call for respect when you make a phone call and then I'm disrespectful in some ways, it's because I've been disrespected, and that's why. I mean, literally yesterday, I had Mcbath's office hang up on me. And I pay her salary, literally pay her salary. Lucy Mcbath doesn't make anything or sell anything, so she has no money to pay her staff. That all comes from us. And having a government worker hang up on me, and I have not sworn at her or anything like that, is super disrespectful just because she doesn't like what I have to say. That's their leadership, who they work for, being transitioned onto them. They basically are feeding off of those people. Here's the phone calls.
If you are not leaving a message for Speaker Pelosi and have business with the office, please press 4. To repeat this menu, please...
Speaker's office.
Yes, who am I speaking to?
This is Grant.
Grant. Good to meet you, Grant. Look, I was just curious. I know that HR1808 is going to end up getting voted on most likely. And with Nancy Pelosi having control over that being voted on, I'm just curious, based on the information that was exchanged between Cicilline and Mcbath and Mr. Massey, has Cicilline and Mcbath acknowledged yet that they were factually incorrect on stabilizing braces that you're aware of?
I am not sure, sir. That would be something to reach out to the Judiciary Committee about.
I'm curious, just in cases like this, and this is, I guess, overall, not just in gun-related cases, when it's clear, and I say this as respectfully as I can, when it's clear that people really are, and I don't know an easier way to say this, but when someone is uneducated on a topic, why doesn't, say, Pelosi or someone else mandate that actual experts come in, not activists from either side, but actual experts, because it was clear who was incorrect in the exchange that took place, and no experts were brought in. Is that common to have a topic that's being voted on in committee to be passed on, to be voted on by the entire House, and no experts are brought in to clarify incorrect data?
Yeah, I'm not sure, sir. I can't speak on, that bill in particular or how the Judiciary Committee, chooses to conduct its markups and proceedings. Unfortunately, I do have other calls on line at the moment. Let me put you over to the speaker's line so you can leave your message. One moment, please.
Thank you for calling the office of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Thank you for calling the office of Congressman David Cicilline. The congressman greatly appreciates hearing from constituents, and he looks forward to listening to your message. Please leave your name, phone number, Rhode Island address, and a brief description of the issue or concern that you're calling about. Thank you for calling.
Yes, I'm aware that HR 1808 has passed committee and is going to be voted on by the House, and I'm just curious if, after the exchange between Mr. Cicilline and Mr. Massey, if Mr. Cicilline has had a chance to actually educate himself, and if he's acknowledged that he was incorrect about the comments that he made regarding a stabilizer brace making a rifle become a bump stock or fully automatic, which we all know is factually incorrect and is not physically possible to actually happen. I was also curious if it's common practice for Congress, when members clearly don't know what they're talking about, and I say this respectfully, when members of Congress are ignorant on a specific topic, why we wouldn't bring true experts, unbiased experts, people who are actually experts in the field to come in and clear up that confusion, so folks like Mr. Cicilline and Ms. Mcbath don't waste so much time kind of making themselves look ignorant, because it really sends a message to the voting public that we have the wrong people in office when the general public knows that people are wrong and they're witnessing them argue just the opposite on topics that they're actually uneducated on, but they continue to argue in favor of them when the general public knows that they're incorrect. And lastly, I'm just curious how many bills and how many topics Mr. Cicilline has fought for or against when he had this level of ignorance and didn't know what he was talking about as well. So I'm just curious if those things actually are considered, because, you know, with the taxpayer money that we spend with these people, we kind of expect a little bit more. So thank you for taking my call.
Good morning. You've reached the office of Congresswoman Lucy Mcbath.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm curious, knowing that HR 1808 is going to be voted on now after the discussion that took place in committee the other day, are you aware at this point if Ms. Mcbath has taken the opportunity to further educate herself on bump stocks and stabilizing braces to clear up that confusion?
I cannot speak on behalf of the Congresswoman, but if you'd like me to pass on your stance on the bill, I can most certainly pass it along to her so she can take that into consideration.
Okay, so she hasn't made any kind of a statement retracting what she stated, that it was incorrect?
Not that I am aware of, sir.
Okay. I'm just curious, I know you're just a staffer, but if these bills are being talked about in committee, I'm curious why true experts aren't brought in to help clear up the confusion of members like Ms. Mcbath and Mr. Cicilline. And I guess finally, are you aware of any other bills that Ms. Mcbath has voted on that she's been incorrect factually in committee and she actually voted in support or against those bills?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Yes, I'm just curious if you're aware of any other bills that Ms. Mcbath may have voted for in the past where she was factually incorrect about some data, and she voted either for or against those particular bills when she actually had her data incorrect.
No, sir, not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay. Have a great day.
You too. Guys, I will post these phone numbers down below. I encourage you to call these people. I don't care if you're disrespectful to them in this case, because we know how they're voting, all right, in these particular cases. Again, I have to reiterate that when we're calling congressmen and senators and we don't know how they're voting and we're trying to convince them how they should vote on a bill and how their constituents feel about it, be as respectful and firm as you can, because that's the point there. We need to make sure our message gets across. I know my message in these cases isn't necessarily getting across, but they're hearing what I've got to say. When they hear from nobody, they assume they have BS'd everybody. So at least they're hearing from people knowing we ain't buying this crap anymore.